My name is Harry, and I'm from London.
Meghan Markle here.
Today is June 25th, 2024. It is 5:08 a.m. This is the first video I'm recording since, when was the last time I recorded? Since the 23rd, 2 days ago. So I didn't record for a while, but I was trying to finish editing some of the videos that I recorded on the 23rd. So I just finished it, and now I was putting a list together. For today's video on Team Sussex, I have six tweets to share with you. I was looking for one more, but it's taking me too long to find it, so I just leave it alone. But for PYTE, I have a lot more. So there's a possibility the list that I have for PYTE might be broken down into 2 videos. Okay, so I have 15 tweets. Who knows what I'm gonna say? But for now, I'm gonna focus on this. And then this weekend we're going away for 5 days, so we're gonna be out for a while, and I need to leave some videos for you guys. And don't forget to subscribe to pretty much all of my channels, because I'll be sharing different videos, you know, discussing different topics on different channels. So for instance, if I don't have videos, let's say for today on this channel, Team Sussex, there's a possibility I might be showing a video on PYTE on that particular day. So you need to subscribe to both channels and alternate back and forth. I'm sorry I have to do that, but because of YouTube, the way they treat my channels, there are things that I said, I don't think I don't know, okay? It's just backups after backups. If one is not working, the other one can substitute for the other one. Okay, so for this channel, let's focus on this. Let's get started. 4,295 subscribers. I don't think there's any new subscribers since my last recording, because I just finished edit some of those videos, so the numbers the same. Analytics, 1,977 views. And I was reading some of the comments on my last video. Just look at the beginning. I usually say the date of when I recorded. So I believe this video was recorded before the missing reappeared. Okay, so that was before the you know, the one who was missing. I recorded this, so that's probably every videos I have a different opinion on her being missing. So some people were saying, oh, she's back now. Just keep in mind when I recorded it. Okay, so like for this video, today is June 25th. You're probably gonna see this video on July 8th. Okay, so this is my last video. I scheduled it July 7th, so July 8th will be for this video. Okay, so just keep those things in mind when you know, current event. I'm not rushing to put videos out automatically. Okay, so that's that. Let's go on Twitter. So this is the first tweet. Okay, so this one I saw not too long ago, and I thought it was very interesting. Detective who investigated phone hacking speak out in the New York Times about the destruction of evidence held by the murder company, and about how they came to view Will Lewis as, quote, an impediment, end quote, to their work. Okay, by Nick Davis. Okay, so there's no comment here. This is a squad who brought it up, who retweeted it, and it come under my timeline. So this Nick Davis, I don't follow, so let's see here. I'm going to his tweet now. Detective who investigated phone hacking speak out. Okay, I just read that. and he retweeted somebody else. Okay, so let me read the comments under this person's tweet, and then I'm gonna go to the retweet of that retweet. Okay, that is blatant destruction of evidence. How could the CPS not act on it? They needed to delete millions of emails because of claim on MP was accessing one person's email. Thank you for years of hard investigative work. I am glad your findings are being picked up. Perhaps what is happening in USA with Washington Post and Disclosure and New York Times will find their way back to Whitehall and Met Police post 4th of July. The thing that's happening here, I told you guys, people who have been following me way before this channel, APTS Sussex, was in existence, I was only on PYTE. I told you guys, one of the most important things for Harry and Meghan's union, for being together, one of the things that I say about it is that it was a way to open people's eyes, because so many things were going under the rug, nobody was paying attention, none of that. And many of the squads, way before I even start following Harry and Meghan, and once I started listening to some of the squad podcasts, one of the things that they always say, leave Meghan alone. But the papers, they thought they got everything under control. I guess that's what it was. Because they have people in every post, every station to cover their butt. So they thought they have everything under control. But because they keep on poking, they got Harry to a point where Harry doesn't give a F anymore. And he's going after them for there to bother his little family. So now it opening people's eyes. In one of my videos, I was talking about how American was seeing what was happening in the UK, but it didn't affect them too much. They kept their mouth shut, because Harry and Meghan's situation is more of a family, okay, issues. Many well-known people just kept their mouth shut. They don't want to be X'd by the public, okay, so they kept their mouth shut. Many well-minded individuals kept their mouth shut. Those who open their mouth, they see the consequences eventually. But now that they're inserting themselves, you have the papers, Will Lewis coming into New York, Washington Post, and doing their revamp, okay, like Bojo's sister was saying, to turn real investigative newspapers into entertainment type of things.
My industry, and I think it's in all our interests, that we have a thrive, and we got the most wonderful newspapers in the world in this country. You read the newspapers in the States or in France, they're very dull. They're not entertaining at all. I think that we can have both a serious and an entertaining press. And that's what I want to see survive. I don't want to see Prince Harry destroy the industry I love.
And thank God there are some people who still stand for integrity, and they're really passionate about their work to find out, issues that's going on. They don't want to put up with this BS. So of what Will Lewis is trying to do with Washington Post. So now things are being opened up. Now, some of the things that Harry was doing was by himself and all of that with the phone hacking. And there are other people who's doing the same thing, who's suing the papers and all of that. Now, the U.S. eyes are open and seeing things for what it is. Because as much as we may see the darkness that is happening, because the evils hijack every form of communication. All you're hearing is the evilness that's happening. But deep inside, there are things that's happening that is breaking their plan completely into pieces. You have Harry doing his own part because it affects them. It affects him personally. He's doing his part. And you have, let's say, for instance, Midas Touch. It's a YouTube channel who have professional licensed attorneys who's shedding light to the BS that's going on in the US. And you have many other young people, thank God, there are still young people who don't really run behind the money and just put out BS, who's doing their part as well, shedding light to the BS that old people who's about to go, you know, trying to infest the entire country with their BS type of government. Some young people, very few, not a lot, who's shedding light to the BS. And then you have my channel, for instance. I'm not saying I'm a professional. I am nowhere in the business of doing, you know, I don't know, the way a journalist will do. I'm not that type at all. But from following Harry and Meghan, seeing the BS that was going on, and I started looking into the things, and I saw there was much more behind what was going on.
You looked out for me for so long, but the media is a powerful force. And my hope is one day our collective support for each other can be more powerful, because this is so much bigger than just us.
So my channel, PYTE, was originally, it was meant to do something completely different. So I turned it into what it is now, PYTE. And then this channel that I am in now, I'm talking this video, is a backup of PYTE. Because YouTube was trying, and they still do, YouTube is still trying to shut me off, don't want me to talk. They don't say it, okay? I'm not gonna say this is what they want out of me. I'm not gonna say. But some very minor things that I see going on behind the scene of my channel, which I share with you, it just, you know, it's sort of giving a hint that they don't want you to talk about some of the things that I'm talking about. So as much as we see the full darkness that is going on all mainstream media, but behind the scene there are hard work, different people. There's some I will never know who's doing their work quietly to make the change. Okay, so the UK, I hope you learned something, okay, because I've shared many of the misery that I see you guys are going through. I share many of them on either this channel or PYTE. But the US, yes, the US having many problems. I'm not saying we are the perfect country, but many of us were too comfortable because we believe in freedom. People could do what they want to do as long it doesn't affect you personally. You could do whatever you want. But when things like that start affecting us individually in our personal lives, we say enough is enough. So this is what the UK is sending over here to mess up our papers, because so many of us have different objectives in life. We're doing things differently. Some people don't even have time to sit down and watch the news, or maybe while they're doing one thing, they turn on their news and they're listening or whatever. But if you're putting BS out there to put us in the blind, we're not standing up for it. So all of a sudden, some Americans, not all, some Americans say, F this. My future, you're trying to destroy my future. I'm going to put my future on hold right now. Let me fix this right now so my children don't deal with this in the future. So this is what the UK is sending over here to prevent many of our young kids from living the life of freedom. Okay, so this is what's happening here. I went off. Let's get back to this. I'm already, how many minutes I have? 12 minutes. So let's get back to this. Okay. Alright, so there's this here. That is such blatant destructive of evidence. How could the CPS not act on it? They need to delete millions of emails because of claims an MP was accessing one person's email. Thank you for years of hard investigative work. I am glad your findings are being picked up. Perhaps what is happening in USA with Washington Post and Disclosure and New York Times will find their way back to Whitehall and Met Police post 4th of July. So 4th of July should be a significant date for the UK as well. Hopefully they don't get blindsided with immigrants is coming to take their country, this type of thing, because this is the nonsense, the dog bone, the squirrel they always use
so that I may talk. Squirrel.
when it's time to vote. Immigrants is coming to do this. Immigrants is coming to do that. Immigrants this, immigrants that. Black people this, black people that. Meanwhile, they remain in power, continue living their lavish lifestyle, but you guys are in misery. And did the immigrant come and take your house or something like that? Who put you in misery? I don't know. Look at, for instance, back then, what's her name? Something Potter, one of the MPs who called out Bojo, who said Bojo was a liar. And then they threw her out for dare to speak the truth. Okay? This literally happened in my lifetime. Couple years ago, what, 2 years the most? Time flies, so it could be, I think it's 2 years. They threw her out for dare to speak the truth. Now what happened to Bojo? What did they find out? He lied about almost everything. Alright, so this is the thing. Many UK needs to remove their blindfold and say, who is going to make my life a little bit easier? So whichever is in power, this is the thing that many UK needs to do. And the US have done it many times. Whoever is in power, you find the best way you could get something out of them to benefit you. Whether it's Republican or Democrat. Depend on who's running, the lesser of the two evil. Both of them will be evil. Okay? But which one is less evil? That's what you have to look at. How is it gonna affect you personally? This is where you have to be selfish. Which government is gonna benefit me? Because all of them, whoever's running, whoever's in power right now, whoever's living their lavish lifestyle, they're thinking of themselves. What is gonna be best for me? So when you go vote, is to look at things, not in black and white. Maybe the paper, I don't know how your ballots are. Maybe the paper, you could say, okay, black and white, so you could read whatever's in it. How each individual MP is gonna benefit you personally, whether he's black, white, Hispanic, Italian. I don't know. I don't know the diversity percentage. I think I looked at it the other day, but it doesn't stick in my mind. It doesn't register. But whoever's running, how is that particular MP is gonna benefit you? How are they gonna preserve or give you more right, more freedom, more things, more money to help you spend? You're only here for a few minutes, literally a few minutes. Before you know it, you couple years on this earth. How are you gonna live a life of peace, prosperity, without any pain? So which MP is gonna provide you that? This is where you need to be selfish. But if you're looking at black and white, you're doomed. Okay? Because these people, they threw these things out for them to remain in power. Black people's coming here, immigrant is coming here, immigrant this, immigrant that. Who's gonna give up a country for one person to take over? I don't know, but I'm just saying. So let's go into that. This is my first tweet, and I'm deep into it. Okay, so if we tweeted that June 24th, I think I have this by Brian Cape Cod. Did I put it? But if it's on the list again, I'll just skip it. But let's go into it. The link will be in the description. My latest with, there's this person here, on Washington Post publisher Will Lewis and the British phone hacking scandal. Our reporting builds on decades of plus of coverage by Nick Davies, who first broke the phone hacking scandal and has been out in front since. There was an article that I read where this particular person said he was doing the investigative on the phone hacking, and then he retired, but something brought him back out of retiring. I'm wondering if it's that person. I read a lot of articles regarding this. Some of them I share, some of them I put the links or whatever. But that's an ad. Okay, so let's see here. If this is something that I read already, I'm just gonna leave it. Let's see here. okay, by Joe Becker and Justin Check. Will Lewis, now the publisher of the Washington Post, was in full crisis mode in 2011, then an executive at a subsidiary of Rupert Murdoch's News Corporation. He was an intermediary to the police detective investigating a British phone hacking scandal that had placed the company's journalists and top leaders in legal peril. So did he try to be on the police side so he could see evidence and then destroy what will, and insert his buddies into it? Oh my God. For years, reporters at News Corporation's best-selling British tabloid had landed scope by paying public officials and illegally listening to the voicemail messages of royals, politicians, celebrities, and even a murdered girl. Mr. Lewis was supposed to cooperate with the police, identify wrongdoing, and help steer the company through the crisis. There was another article that I read where the police gave, was it him or someone else, or Rebecca Brooke? I don't remember the name, but someone in the Murdoch group of buddies to hold the evidence, and then when they get it back, it's almost like let the fox guard the chicken kind of thing. And then when the police wanted the evidence back, a whole bunch were missing. I'm wondering if it's this they're making reference to. But let's continue. His role, he will later say, was a force for good. He was draining the swamp. That's what Trump was saying. Oh my God. Drain the swamp. Meanwhile, he was the swamp. He brought in more of the swamp. Oh my God. But let's continue. But confidential document obtained by the New York Times and interviews with people involved in the criminal investigation showed that almost from the beginning, investigators with London's Metropolitan Police were suspicious of the company's intentions and came to view Mr. Lewis as an impediment. The police suspect that the company was trying to, quote, steer the investigation into a very narrow remit, end quote, by pointing the finger at the few journalists while steering the investigation away from other journalists and editors. Another another article that I read where they said that let's say how do they call this, new journalists, young journalists that were working, they blamed them. Some of them, I think, went to jail. So now I'm glad that I read some of them. This is what I think they're making reference to. Okay, so let's continue. One of the lead detectives wrote in a previously undisclosed internal summary of events from Scotland Yard detectives were shocked to learn that the company had deleted millions of internal emails despite notices from a lawyer for an alleged phone hacking victim, and the police explicitly asking that any documents related to the investigation be preserved, according to police record and interviews with investigators. That's the thing here, where they delete millions of information. And while the company took steps to save some relevant emails amid the deletion, the police were deeply skeptical of one of Mr. Lewis' explanation for those deletions, especially since he admitted he can't be corroborated. The Times reporting fills out a portrait of Mr. Lewis at a crucial moment, a British career journalist who became a crisis manager at the News Corp subsidiary at the center of the phone hacking scandal. He was thrust into a dual role as liaison to the authorities and, perhaps more important, as the protector of the Murdoch Empire's interests. Yeah, that's what it is. And then now, because of what he did for Murdoch, okay, as if he was not part of it at all, because they were perceiving him as a good guy. That's what it was, perceiving him as a good guy in the UK, trying to help the police and all of that. So they're using him now in the US to F up the Washington Post. And based on what what's her name, Bojo's sister, I don't know her real name, I keep on calling her Bojo's sister, which she is, I don't know her real name. Bojo's sister had said in one of her podcasts that the US and France kind of journalism is not entertaining enough.
I don't want the press to be in the last chance saloon at all. I want to see newspapers thrive. This is my industry, and I think it's in all our interests that we have a thrive. And we got the most wonderful newspapers in the world in this country. You read the newspapers in the States or in France. They're very dull. They're not entertaining at all. I think that we can have both a serious and an entertaining press. And that's what I want to see survive. I don't want to see Prince Harry destroy the industry I love.
They don't report the news, they create it. And they've successfully turned fact-based news into opinion-based gossip with devastating consequences for the country. So I know the story all too well.
So friends better watch out, okay? So we already see what's happening in the US. They're sending someone who seemed to be a good guy, but deep inside, he's protecting the murder group or trying to trash, how will I say that? Sabotage, that's the word. Sabotage the US type of news outlets. That is what is happening right now in the US. And thank God, many of those journalists in the US who's standing up for the truth and integrity, kudos to them, because this is what's holding, this is what, the front line. Okay, let's say you're in a war, there's a group of people who's on the front line, who's preventing the enemy from passing through. This is what holding us right now. So kudos to these journalists, okay, who's fighting back. And now they're shedding more light to Lewis' type of behavior, okay? So he has no best interest of the US at all. And also in another video, what I've said is that some of the damages that they're doing at Washington Post have already done, because there were buyouts. Some real journalists have already left, or at least are in the process of leaving as of now, June 25th, 2024. Okay, so the sabotage that is happening have already done. So now what needs to be done here is for a new form of paper type of will have to come together to re-establish themselves as form of integrity newspaper. Washington Post is gone. Many other news outlets gone, because these type of people already bought them out to turn them into the type of UK type of journalist newspapers.
Not entertaining at all.
Okay. All right. So let's continue. So this is where we are now, all right? Because the UK, the Murdoch, pretty much want the American to be in the dark. New York Post is gone. New York Daily News, I think it's gone. Okay, some of the things you read are trash thing. Okay, nothing about real news, so people will know what's going on. Nah, they want to flood people with BS thing, entertainment. Not everybody wants to hear entertainment. There's a time for it, and there's a time to listen to the news. All right, but they want to flood everything with entertainment, BS thing. All right, so let's continue. That job later propelled him into the height of American media as publisher first of the Wall Street Journal and now of the Post. And I talk about the Wall Street Journal, where it was about the stock market and all of that. Nowadays, you're hearing gossip kind of thing. All right, destroy everything. Everywhere he goes, destroy it. All right, now of the Post. All right, so he was, how will I say that? He was somewhat camouflage himself in the US as a good guy. But deep inside, everywhere he go, he was setting fire. Okay, he destroyed Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, set fire over there. Now come to the New York Post, he was gonna set fire. He already did set fire over there too. All right, today he is again under pressure. His hand-picked editor, Robert Wennett, abruptly withdrew from the job last week after news reports link him and Mr. Lewis to the British news gathering practices that will be considered unethical in the United States. And you know what I'm also thinking? Okay, I'm sorry I keep on stopping. The link will be in the description so you could read at your free will. The other thing that I was thinking as well, what happened to Johnny Depp? you could see the stark difference. And I covered this. Okay, many of the squad were saying they don't want to hear about the Johnny Depp thing. But for some reason, I saw something and I thought it was worth sharing. The process, it's on either PYTE or over here. Maybe it started on PYTE and then shift to this channel. Is that the people who caused Johnny Depp to the lawsuit with his marriage and all of that are the same group, the same people with the son, how will defame his name. And in the UK, you see, he lost his case when he actually proved himself. Even the witness, his wife, his ex-wife, stumbled, with her own lie.
I had or was about to file, or I had already filed for divorce. I wanted him to know verbally. So I was trying to reach him through a third party to tell him. When I say reach, I'm specifically saying I would like him to know information coming from me or coming from Jerry, from me, so that he finds out about the divorce filing or my intention to do so from some other source other than TMZ, which was alerted.
You slipped up there, didn't you, Miss Heard? You let it slip out that TMZ had been alerted to your filing of the domestic violence restraining order, didn't you?
I disagree. That's not what I'm talking about.
TMZ is the same outlet that you released the video of Mr. Depp attacking the kitchen cabinets the day before this deposition was taken, wasn't it?
I didn't do that. I don't
TMZ
know how
owns
to do
the
that.
copyright to that video now, doesn't it?
I have no idea what TMZ
Did they
owns.
pay you for that?
I never got paid for it because I had nothing to do with that.
So TMZ was just lucky in getting the inside scoop to your divorce from Mr. Depp, huh?
I have no idea. That's not my area of expertise. I wouldn't even know how to do that. And also, what does that get me? If I wanted to leak things about Johnny, I could have done that in a much more successful way, in a bigger way, for years.
Not
and
when
years.
you were extorting him for $7 million.
I got a fraction of what I was entitled to in the state of California, by the way. What extortion?
Sussex squad. Sussex squad.
But he still lost. But when you come in the US, he sued a wife who was the witness in the UK. He won his case. And that wasn't cheap. So if anybody understand or saw what Johnny Depp went, okay? The amount of money he spent to prove himself. Do you want to be on that same page? This is the thing many Americans need to really understand. You don't even need to watch my videos about Johnny Depp. It's on, I think, law. It's a YouTube channel that highlight things with the law. They televised it. Okay, you could watch that from the beginning to end. The Johnny Depp case. Do you have enough money? Or even if you do have the money, but do you want to spend it on proving yourself you didn't do anything wrong? So this is the type of toxicity the UK system is, and they're trying to bring it here in the US. Okay? And if you look back in the UK, how many people have committed suicide because the tabloid refused to leave them alone? So this is again the type of journalism that the UK system is, and they want to bring it in the United States.
You read the newspapers in the States or in France, they're very dull. They're not entertaining at all. I think that we can have both a serious and an entertaining press. And that's what I want to see survive. I don't want to see Prince Harry destroy the industry I love.
They don't report the news, they create it. And they've successfully turned fact-based news into opinion-based gossip with devastating consequences for the country.
Perfect example, the best one I could only share with you is the Johnny Depp one. Okay? Because you saw both cases in the UK and the US. And you see how both of them went. Do you have the money to spend to do all these investigative, bring professionals to talk and all of that? And kudos to the TMZ guy who, did his part as well.
I was the go-between the news desk in the office and the reporters in the field, which you might know as paparazzi.
Approximately how many paparazzis were you in charge of?
At the time, it was about 20 in LA, a handful, maybe 3 in New York, and then 1 in DC.
And what were your responsibilities specifically as to the paparazzi?
It would be to dispatch paparazzi to various locations based on tips or just direction dictated by having a list of sort of hot spots where celebrities would be.
And how were those tips received?
They were received either through tips that we received through our tip line or directly through news producers in the office.
And were tips frequently received directly from sources?
Very often the case, yeah.
To do so from some other source other than TMZ, which was alerted.
And who were the type of sources that TMZ received tips from?
They would receive tips from, oftentimes it would be publicists, managers, agents, or B-list celebrities.
Lawyers?
And lawyers, definitely.
How are tips verified?
Tips are verified by an extensive process. If they come in through our tip line, we have to verify who sent it, that the source is truthful, and so they have to add their contact information, which is a field in that on that website for like name, phone number, things like that.
And how long did that process typically take?
If we receive a tip through the tip line, it could take a while because that would need to be, if it was a tip, we would need to verify it. If it was media, such as photos or videos, that would need to be extensively verified to ensure that the person sending it is the copyright holder and that we would have the legal ability to air it and distribute it.
And while working for TMZ, were you involved in any assignments related to Ms. Heard?
I was.
What was the first time you recall working on an assignment related to Ms. Heard?
I believe it was May 27th, 2016.
And what was your role in that assignment?
For that, Ms. Heard was filing a restraining order at a courthouse in downtown Los Angeles. So I dispatched camera people to that location.
Under what circumstances would you normally send paparazzi to a courthouse?
Only if we had been informed prior. It's not by any means a celebrity hotspot. We would only ever send people there if we had been tipped off that something was occurring and there was somebody present there.
To do so from some other source other than TMZ, which was alerted.
And what footage was TMZ trying to capture at the LA courthouse on May 27th, 2016?
We were trying to capture Amber leaving the courthouse and an alleged bruise on the right side of her face.
What was your team of paparazzi supposed to do while they were at the LA courthouse on May 27th, 2016?
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay and foundation.
What were they supposed to do?
Right. She's asking for, I don't think there's a foundation or
I'll
hearsay.
overrule the objection at this point. I'll see.
Go ahead, Mr. Tremaine.
Can you state the question again?
What was your team of paparazzi supposed to do while they were at the Los Angeles courthouse on May 27th, 2016?
Their objective was to capture her leaving the courthouse, and then she was going to sort of stop and turn towards the camera to display the bruise on the right side of her face, the alleged bruise.
I mean, democracy doesn't work when you sit on the sideline looking people going through, doing their thing or go through their misery. You need to be involved. All right, so let's continue. High-profile lawsuits are also moving forward in London, brought against News Corp by Prince Harry and other victims of hacking. Again, like I said, Harry and Meghan's marriage was what the UK needed to help them see. But if you think racism is the problem in the UK, well, like one of the tweets that I read, it seems like the UK love misery. Right, the claim have not yet been tested in court, but they include new details about Mr. Lewis' role in the scandal. The episode has attracted even greater interest since Mr. Lewis tried to suppress news coverage of the litigation. Journalists inside and outside the Post have questioned why he will do that if his role in the scandal had merely been to clean house. Exactly. He's telling people, don't look, don't look.
So that I may talk, squirrel.
Meanwhile, they're saying, why you don't want me to look? This kind of thing. These will work in the UK. The squirrel kind of thing. They threw the squirrel and then you chase the squirrel. In the US, he's throwing the squirrel and then the people say, but why are you throwing the squirrel over here? We want to look over there. This is what's happening in the US right now. The documents reviewed by the Time, as well as those referenced in the lawsuit, center on 7 crucial months in the hacking scandal from January 10 to July 2011. Scotland Yard detectives met repeatedly with Mr. Lewis or his colleagues during that period bargaining for access to evidence, yet behind the scenes, the company was deleting data from its servers and not telling the police until it was too late. Wow. The company says this was all part of a planned computer system upgrade and was not an effort to hide evidence, and prosecutors who reviewed evidence years ago said they found no evidence to believe otherwise. Okay. Mr. Lewis' role is still not fully understood. He's just playing both sides to make it seem like he's a good guy, but meanwhile he was protecting the Murdoch. Okay? Murdoch Empire. In my humble opinion, Mr. Lewis' role is still not fully understood, but the lawsuit offered glimpses citing reams of internal company documents. The plaintiff said those records show that he was involved in the effort that deleted millions of internal emails, even as he presented himself as a conduit to the police. Yeah, that's what it was. Mr. Lewis, who is named in the lawsuit but is not personally being sued, declined an interview request. Quote, any allegation of wrongdoing are untrue. I'm pretty sure they will not find much because he cleaned house. He cleaned his track. That's the thing. He cleaned his track. And that alone should, if he's involved with the Murdoch, he doesn't belong in the US system kind of journalism. After what we know what Murdoch have done. He said in a statement, quote, I have no further comment to make. And I mean, you can understand him. There's an investigation going and then there's lawsuit going on. He's not going to talk to say something stupid that might use against him. A spokeswoman for Mr. Murdoch's British newspaper's subsidiary disputed that there were tension with the police. She said Mr. Lewis and other company representatives, quote, acted throughout with the utmost integrity. Yeah, okay. Wink, wink. The company also strongly denied allegation that it deleted emails to conceal evidence. Rather, she said it was about upgrading a bulky email system and creating needed additional storage capacity. As for the lawsuit, the spokeswoman said the company will respond thoroughly in court, but called the allegation illogical, far-fetched, and inherently incredible. Lawyers for both sides declined to comment or provide documents from the case beyond what was in the public file. Many of the court documents remain under seal. One person now demanding a new investigation is Gordon Brown, a former Prime Minister of Britain. Some of these information that is being reported in this article that I'm reading, okay, if you saw some of my videos, if I'm reading an article that has to do with this, I most likely will share them with you. Because I think I share this. Because I know what this article is talking about. Okay, who had been the target of hacking and other surreptitious reporting methods. When the police confronted Mr. Lewis about why certain emails had been removed from the servers, Mr. Lewis offered a stalling response. He pointed the finger at Mr. Brown. According to police records reviewed by the Times, the company removed the email, Mr. Lewis told police, after receiving an unsubstantiated tip that Mr. Brown, a member of parliament at the time, was plotting with his allies to steal emails of a top company executive. Mr. Lewis conceded that he had no evidence to back up the tip, could never corroborate, and never mention it to the police until after the emails were deleted, according to police minutes of meetings. Mr. Brown told the Times that the claim are, quote, completely untrue and without any foundation at all. I have been shocked to discover, as I did only recently, this false accusation against me, he said. The new allegation brought forward and quote suggests that executives who claim they were doing the cleanup may have instead been engaged in a cover-up. That's exactly that. Will Lewis lists. In February 2011, investigators from Scotland Yard held meetings at the headquarters of the News of the World, the Murdoch tabloid at the heart of the hacking scandal. The scandal had been gathering speed for 5 months. Lawyers for the actress Sienna Miller, who had long suspected that someone was hacking her phone, had put the company on notice to preserve any relevant materials and then file a lawsuit that contained explosive new evidence that will eventually lead to the suspension and firing of a top editor at the News of the World. Under pressure and in response to a police request for evidence, the company on January 26 turned over 3 incriminating emails related to the editor. That same day, Scotland Yard announced a new task force called Operation Weeding to investigate the extent of the hacking, who knew of it, and who was responsible. The police told company executives to preserve all relevant documents going back a decade. One of the officers that February day was Bonnie Ratcliffe, a detective, inspector, and homicide investigator. He met with company executives and lawyers for News International, a British subsidiary of News Corp, to hash out the terms of its cooperation. They were not on the same page. Mr. Ratcliffe wanted as much information as possible, anything he said that could establish or support the suggestion that employees at the News of the World had engaged in phone hacking, according to his sworn statement, which contained a detailed summary of event and was filed in a separate court case. The company said there wasn't much information to give. Meeting minutes show the chief information officer, Paul Cheeseborough, told detectives that for months the company had been upgrading its corrupted and buggy email system. Because of that upgrade, he said, emails from before 2008 were gone. Oh my God. The company had, however, preserved some email that could be of interest in phone hacking litigation. Mr. Cheeseborough gave the police a list of criteria used to decide what to save. The company was willing to share what it had. This largely limited the focus of the investigation to 18 people, police briefing notes show. The plaintiff and the lawsuit have dubbed this Will Lewis list because he had circulated internally. Mr. Murdoch, his family, and many top executives were not on it. I'm wondering if the police could have charged them or at least bring the notice of why they didn't wait until after the investigation then for them to upgrade their system, because they wait until there's the investigation and that's when they do the upgrade. I mean, you know, it's a lie. You know, they were giving time to just delete what they wanted to delete, but at least this should be brought up. You knew there was an investigation going, but you decided while the investigation going, that's when you have to update your system. I mean, they're really playing these people for a fool though. But anyway, let's get back to the original recording. From one view, the list could be seen as an effort to preserve evidence for the police by sequestering the emails of potential suspects as News International upgraded its system, which is what News UK, as the company is now known, described in a statement given to the Times. The plaintiffs have a different perspective. They say it was a plan to cover up and conceal evidence of wrongdoing by saving only some emails and getting rid of everything else. In either case, millions of emails were wiped off the server. All Mr. Ratcliffe, the detective inspector, knew was that he disliked the company's proposal from the beginning. It seemed designed to point the finger at a handful of journalists whom it was willing to hang out to dry. Okay, these are the new ones, the young ones, he said in his court statement, while steering Scotland Yard, which is formerly known as the Metropolitan Police Service, away from others. I took the view that it should be for the MPs as the investigators to decide what should be investigated rather than the organization which had caused or permanent phone hacking to take place, Mr. Ratcliffe said in his sworn statement. Investigators were so frustrated, the record showed that at one point they considered using their search and seizure powers, but declaring newspaper offices a crime scene and scoring them for evidence will trample on journalistic independence and surely mar the investigation and court fight. I understand what the police were trying to do, you know, not to how will I say that? The police were following rule of law, but these people, those journalists, are breaking the law, but they're going to a certain extent very far, but not far enough to cross over the law completely. So the police should have just go with it and then bring it to court and see how it goes. Because they assume one thing, and then meanwhile these people are abusing the freedom that there is out there for the people. You understand what I mean? So the police should have go along with their plan, because these people are deleting evidence. And yeah, it's very sad. It's very sad. And yeah, that's all. So there's more, okay? It's decent read. There's more. As you can see, I think Rebecca Brooks and all of that. All right, so they clean their tracks. So God save her. I have to pray for Harry. Okay, the link of this will be in the description. All right, so let's go back. Okay, great that Nick is credited in your tweet. Why is this unethical tool still there? Okay, meaning him. Why is this still at the Washington Post? Alright, it is impossible to trust any of Robert factotum. Okay, the same stuff rehash again. Yes, I would say yes. I would say yes, because many of the information that I read in other outlet, I believe in the UK. Okay, so this person is putting them together for people in the US. Is that New York Times? Yeah, New York Times. So people who are in the US who probably don't know some of the things, some of the articles that I read. So New York Times somewhat putting together. All right, like I said, some of the things he mentioned I'm aware of already. All right, so I'm going to the next tweet. Oh my God, I thought this was gonna be quick because I only had what, 2, 4, 6 tweets, but I'm already 40 something minutes. Next tweet. Remember when, okay, we're done with that. We more, do I have more British media? Let me pause and look at my list so I could sort of put them together. Okay, I'm making a switch here. I don't know if it's the same thing. I hope it's not the same thing. All right, if it's the same thing, okay. All right, so I switched something. I want to keep the news together and then we go into the royal family. Okay, the thing about those and UK media is they lie despite clear evidence contradicting the lie. Narendra is no different. Mind you, Narendra can also retrieve the truth herself, but she has an agenda to smear Meghan by lying for clicks and coins. Anyway, here are the facts showing Narendra lies. Okay, so I don't know anything about that. All right, quote. I've been reaching out to you all weekend, but you're not taking any of our calls or replying to any texts. She texts her father on May 15, quote, very concerned about your health and safety and have taken every measures to protect you, but not sure what more can we do if you don't respond. That sounds like when Meghan was trying to reach the father before the wedding. Is that what is that? Do you need help? Can we send the security team down again? Yeah, that's what it is. I'm very sorry to hear you in the hospital, but need you to please get in touch with us. What hospital are you at? Yeah, so that was leading to the wedding, and Meghan was trying to reach with the father, and the father was not picking up his phone to respond to Meghan. Okay, roughly 10 minutes later, she sent him another message, quote, Harry and I made a decision earlier today and are dispatching the same security guys you turned away this weekend to be a presence on the ground to make sure you're safe. They will be there at your disposal as soon as you need them. Her message stated, according to Harper Bazaar, please call us soon as you can. All of this is incredibly concerning, but your health is most important. It's almost the same concern that Meghan had with Miss Doria, because when the tabloid tried to invade into Miss Doria's home, you know, when she's leaving her house, running errands, they all over her. So Meghan, who sent an email to Jason Kunoff, wanted to set a time to meet with them to, you know, arrange things to keep her mother safe. It's almost the same thing here. Okay, so she was doing it for both of her parents. One took it and the other one rejected it. Okay, Thomas Markle refused the offer of security but said he was okay according to the legal filing. Okay, so let's see here. So she retweeted that. Where is it? Yeah. Did she or Harry even go meet Thomas? Oh, so that's probably one of the Narendra. So that's probably one of the derangers. And I was wondering, who's the hell is Narendra? For a minute, I thought it was one of the Royal Vats, YouTubers, derangers. Alright, so she voted that. Did she or Harry even go meet Thomas? Explain how it all is. Give media training. Employ someone to help him in front of the world. Okay, Narendra Kaur. So that's the name of the person. You can actually become Thomas' daughter. It's very easy. But I do hope you suffer 0.001% of what Meghan went through. Then you can shut up your mouth, face your own life. Okay, family abuse is real. The notion that he is still your dad allow perfect strangers to push people into toxic relationship with family members. The toxic British media has led us to believe that this is now our business. It is not. Alright, so there's all of this. She retweeted that. I'm going back because I think this is where the squad are. I responded to that. So this is me here. Let me pause that GIF. This part of the Royal Vat and the Ranger's brain, and for those who might want to catch up. So this is what I did here. 3 people like it. This part of the Royal Vat and the Ranger's brain here, that it's missing pretty much. I didn't have any more room to write it. It's missing. So that's that. Poof, it disappeared. And for those who might want to catch up with the original tweets, screenshot, here's the text conversation. So I point to all of this here. So that's that here. I'll go and show you the screenshots. While I'm at it, here are convos of Meghan Markle and Jason Kenoff trying to keep her mom safe. That's this one here. Meanwhile, she was telling the enemy her entire plan. Okay, you could pause your screen and read it. So this is where Meghan was talking via text with, I believe, Jason Kenoff. Yeah, Jason. The beginning says, "Hi Jason, I hope the wreck is going well." So she was talking to Jason Kenoff. So that was August 22nd, 2018. Okay, so she wanted to send a letter. I think Charles wanted Meghan to fly to Mexico to go talk to the father for him to stop talking to the media. Okay, this is the backstabbing that was going on. Oh my God. Now that we know the full story, just imagine being in that. You have someone in front of you telling you to go do this. Meanwhile, in the back, they're stirring the pot. So Charles asking Meghan, you could pause and read this. I'll leave it while I'm talking. Charles is telling Meghan, go to Mexico, go talk to your dad. And Meghan, the brilliant of her, saying she's not going to Mexico. Instead, she's writing a letter to send to the father. All this is God and probably Miss Doria and her grandmother working in heaven to make things work for her. If it wasn't for that letter, some of the things that we saw coming out of the UK, we would have never known. If she had gone straight to Mexico or pick up the phone, if the father was picking up the phone, we will never know all of this. So instead of Meghan going, take a plane, going to Mexico, who knows what would have happened? We've heard a lot of things happen in Mexico. And then you pay people a couple bucks, everything disappear. Okay? Making it seem as an accident. But instead of going to Mexico, Meghan wanted to write a letter to the father. Now, she's talking to Jason Kenoff, telling Jason Kenoff how she was going to send the letter so people don't intercept it. And, because if her name is on it, they're gonna know. Meanwhile, she was talking to Jason Kenoff. Now, she sent Jason Kenoff the letter, a copy of the letter, via text, I assume. And now, Jason Kenoff contacted Meghan back again and to, give some suggestion. That's like the last few paragraphs here. And then let's not forget, from the beginning, Meghan said that conversation is between her, Meghan Markle, and Jason Kenoff alone. Okay? Do not disclose that with anybody. So from the beginning, Meghan said, this is private. It's between me and you. I'm sharing that with you. Where did she say? I'm sharing it with confidentiality or something. It also does, okay, let me find it. Let me pause. It was right at the beginning. Okay, so she said here, I'm currently in Toronto and have drafted the letter to have mailed to my dad. Okay, I share this with you in confidence. The letter itself and its content. Okay, so she's telling Jason, I'm sharing this with you. You know, whatever's in the information, whatever's in the letter is with confidence. All right, so it's between me and you. Do not share it with anybody. Okay, so that was from the beginning. So now, I don't know how he went and tell other people about it, and now Daily Fell find out that, I don't know, Meghan sent a letter, and then Meghan explained. Everything is there. Okay, the catalyst for my, okay, where is it this? My thinking behind, my plan, there it is here. My plan is to write it by hand and FedEx it to, there's somebody's name here, who will then mail it to my father. So they will see the other person's name. So they will not think it's from her. Okay? So in other words, the letter will remain sealed, whatever she wrote, and then the friend is going to put it in another envelope to mail it to the father. So it's like a letter within a letter, a thing, envelope within an envelope. So how did they know? How did Daily Mail know about that? She explained her plan here. My plan is to write it by hand and FedEx it to whoever that person here, who will then mail it to my father. My thinking behind this is, unlike a text or email, it can be forwarded or cut and paste to only share one small portion. It also does not open the door for a conversation. Okay? So she's saying how confident this thing is. So that was only Jason Kanoff who know it. Probably Harry, who knows. So let's assume 3 people. Harry, Meghan, and Jason Kanoff. Jason Kanoff was the only one outside of the Sussex's circle who knew about it. And then the person who will receive it. And then the father. So how did Daily Mail know to go to Mexico and get the letter and then print it? This is the part here. And then print it. And this is where the all hell break loose. Meghan was okay, let's not forget as well where Jason Kanoff suggested to Meghan that there's one thing you should ask, you should include into the letter. Okay, there it is here, the last, second to last. The only thing I think is essential to address in some way is the heart attack. Okay, this is Jason Kanoff who's suggesting it to Meghan to input that in the letter. Okay, so this is how he was part of the drafting of the letter. He was copyright owner of the letter, came into about. Meanwhile, he only suggested to insert this in conversation, and then I'll go further and explain to you why he's not the, how do you call it, co-editor or copyright owner. All right, the only thing I think is essential to address in some way is the heart attack. This is the best opening for criticism and sympathy. The truth is, you tried desperately to find out about the medical treatment he said he was receiving, and he stopped communicating with you. You begged him to accept help, to drive him to the hospital, etc. And instead of speaking to you to arrange this, he stopped answering his phone and only spoke to TMZ. There's that TMZ thing again. Okay? So this is Jason Kanoff who suggested that to Meghan. And this is what Meghan said in response to it. That is a very valid point. We'll redraft. Okay, redraft. In other words, Meghan is gonna go back to her letter and then insert this, whichever form she think it's best to insert it in the letter, and put it in there. Alright, so when push come to shove, when they went to court, Meghan is the only copyright owner of the letter. Okay, suggesting someone to insert something in the letter, that doesn't give you the right to be the copyright owner. Okay, so that's that. I should have just read it, but I just explained it. This one, however, is when Meghan contacted Jason Kanoff, wanted to arrange meeting and asking Jason to come and sit down with her to talk about Omid's book, that Finding Freedom. At that time, there was no name for it. It seems like, this is my assumption, Omid probably sent a list of questions to be answered. So Meghan was gonna talk to Jason Kenoff and respond to the letter. Okay, but Meghan never sat down with Omid, and Omid had always stood by his word and said he never sat down with Meghan. So instead, it was Meghan and Jason Kenoff, and then whatever Meghan gave to Jason Kenoff, again, someone intercepted, changed some stories in it, and put it and give it to Omid. The same thing that happened to the end game. But with the end game, though, it happened in one language only. I forgot I think it's Dutch. Is it Dutch? I don't remember the language where they insert the name of the two racist royal. But every other language, it's not there. And Omid stood by it and said, look, I only speak English. I voted in English. So whatever you see in the English version, you should see it in the whatever the language the racist thing was inserted.
The book's available in a number of languages, and unfortunately I can't speak Dutch, so I haven't seen the copy for myself, but if there have been any translation errors, I'm sure the publishers got it under control. For me, I edited and wrote the English version. There's never been a version that I've produced that has names in it.
Okay? So we cannot blame Omid, especially for finding freedom, because some of us who knew the truth of what was going on and said, no, that didn't happen this way, that didn't happen that way. But you could assume, knowing now this email happened, that Jason Kenoff was the backstabber, he was the middleman, and he was not working for Meghan or Harry. He was working for William, but he was just also helping the Sussexes. Okay? Meanwhile, he was just the middleman, just like Will Lewis, who's trying to be the good guy, trying to clean up the papers and all of that. Meanwhile, he's just protecting someone else. So he was eyes and ears within the Sussexes household for William and the rest of the bunch. Okay? That's the way that I see it, in my humble opinion. So someone took the letter from him, I'm assuming whoever his boss is, and said, let me see what Meghan gave you. And then switch whatever Meghan said, and then they handed to Omid. And then Omid doesn't know. We can blame Omid. This is what the palace gave him. So he put it in the book. And some people were saying, I don't remember which part, that some of them were not true. There was some false information. So you could see how this could interpret with what's going on with the household, the royal household, because they did not have, especially Meghan's best interest. Okay, they wanted to sabotage anything that Meghan was part of. Okay, so, and then within this letter, Meghan wanted to speak to Jason Kenoff for the protection of her mother. Okay, so pretty much Meghan was literally giving all her plan to the enemy. That's all it was. As a side note, we could also assume, in my humble opinion, that Lady Suzanne Hussey, William's godmother, was assigned to help Meghan also for the same purpose, to be the eyes and ears of what was going on within the Sussexes circle. Because when it comes to the tiara, how did the palace know that the Spencer family had offered Meghan the Princess Diana's tiara? Okay, so this is purely my part, my humble opinion, and I've said this in many other videos, that Lady Suzanne Hussey was assigned to help Meghan only because they wanted to know what was going on within the household of the Sussexes, between Harry and Meghan. So the palace could easily, shift its course to readjust and things like that. And then that's why they offer Meghan to wear one of the queen's tiara kind of thing. Okay, so let's get back to the original recording. Okay, and then when she realized that the Daily Fail printed her letter that she specifically wanted to be private, another thing we could take away from that as well, it's almost the same thing that happened at the Centurion Summit, where Harry was telling them what he was mostly fearful, what he really wanted. He wanted security for his family.
Began to address Granny about the 5 options. Everyone assembled that Above all, I was desperate to keep security. That was what worried me most, my family's physical safety. I wanted to prevent a repeat of history, another untimely death like the one that had rocked this family to its core 23 years earlier, and from which we were still trying to recover.
So because Harry wanted that, so they go after that. So there's Meghan who's telling Jason Kenoff, I want this to be private. So what did they do? They go after it and made it public. So you cannot really tell them your true intention, because every time you show them what you really care about, because these people are about pain. They want to put people in misery. So they go after what you care more about. The same thing, I mean, I'm just drawing conclusion or the parallel between the two. There's Meghan in the letter with Jason Kenoff, text message actually, telling Jason, I want this to be confident. And then I don't know how Jason was able to do his thing, and then that went public. Harry told his family he wanted security the most. This is what he most worried about, because there's experience, there's things that happened before. His mother.
Above all, I was desperate to keep security. That was what worried me most, my family's physical safety.
What did they do? They took security away from him. Okay, so they made the plan to push him out and then get the security from him. Okay, so these are the same thing that is happening. So when you're dealing with the royal family, it's like you have to do reverse psychology on them for them to do what you really want. Because what they want to do when you show them your vulnerability, they go after it. Okay, to make you suffer. Anyway, let's get back to the original recording. And ask the institution, the royal family's lawyer or whichever she spoke to help her sue the Daily Fail. They keep on giving her the runaround. When she realized they're not helping her, she took her own lawyer and then she won. Okay? So this is what happened with all this debacle. Okay? And my perspective, these are the evidence. And I put it there, so whoever's in the dark about this, and I put it for them. Alright, so that's that. There's no more comment. Let's go to the next one. I cannot believe 6th Street, I'm almost an hour. So this is gonna be part 2. Okay, I'm gonna turn this video into 2 parts. This is part 2. Let me stop it right now because I'm exactly 1 hour.
It is a great privilege to be with all of you today.
You know, we ask for forgiveness and please come back.
As you saw me find the love and happiness happiness that I'd hoped for all my life. You are all in this together. And if I may speak personally, we are all in this together. Because asking for help was one of the best decisions that I ever made. You will be continually amazed how life changes for the better